What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mizik of the Fight Guys, and I'm also a Forbes contributor. And I'm here with my man Peter Kahn, who has various titles, but those two are among those that he has as well. What's going on, Peter?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Um, I know I didn't pick Manny to win.
Right?
I believe that Keith Thurman was going to win or that it was going to be a draw.
Mm-hmm.
And if Keith Thurman didn't get knocked down, which I'll say was a flash knockdown in the first round,
Yeah, yeah,
based
yeah.
on based on the one based on the 115, 112 cards that went in his favor
Right.
by Moretti and Cheatham.
Exactly.
Um, I would say that we'd be looking at a draw. It would have been 114, 114, because he would have picked up, it would have been a 10-9 round for him, which he was winning that round, as opposed to a 10-8 for Manny. However, in my live blog, I did score it 114, 113 for Manny. I had a little bit closer than Moretti and Cheatham. But nonetheless, I have to say that I think it was a much closer fight than it felt. Since you asked me my opinion right out of the gate, I think obviously the knockdown in the first round, and then seems maybe it was the 10th round where Manny hurt him to the body.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was, there just seemed to be something wrong with Keith's nose. Was it the getting out of the 6th round? I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but I just, it's Manny amazes me. And you know how much I love Manny.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And I know you do too. And it's just like, look, I picked Thurman because I use this to pick,
right,
but during fight night, this is what I was wearing
right.
because it's hard not to love this guy, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But my mind, for many reasons, was telling me that Keith was going to win. And you know what? No knockdown in round one, and of course, woulda, coulda, shoulda. It didn't happen, right? I mean, it did happen,
Mm-hmm.
but it could have easily been a draw, which would have made me look like a genius because I told people to bet it at plus 1,600. But my take was, Manny knows how to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, for me, man, I shared some of the things that you said. I thought that I did score 114 and 113 for Manny. To me, this was a classic example of how a guy can deserve a decision on the judges' scorecards despite being outlanded on Compubox, because I believe Thurman outlanded Pacquiao by 25 shots, and I think he outlanded him in power punches by 79. And that might sound eye-popping to people, right? But I think that explains why the cards were closer than some people. Because if you were kind of looking on Twitter and you're kind of getting the vibe for what people were saying, a lot of people had these wide decisions for Manny. And I didn't have it that wide. I had it as you had it. And then there's also a friend of ours, Mike Coppinger, had it at the same. He had the same score, 114 and
I did,
113 for
yeah, I
Manny.
didn't know that.
So um, what I did think that what you said was very key. I think the turning point in the fight, and I think the biggest moment in the fight, was the hard left hook to the body from Manny Pacquiao in the 10th round. At that point, Thurman was essentially chewing up the early lead that Pacquiao had built. He was just literally eating it alive. But that shot stopped him in his tracks, literally. And it also stopped the momentum. And I felt that Pacquiao then won the 11th and the 12th rounds. And I definitely had Pacquiao winning the 12th round because he landed another hard left hand that seemed to stagger Thurman. And, but without that left hook to the body that Pacquiao lands in the 10th round that really staves off that momentum, I don't know what we see at that point. But I really just want to take a moment, because we neither of us have done this, to really give Manny Pacquiao the absolute credit that he deserves. I mean, 40 years old. As you said, you didn't pick him. I didn't pick him. I am literally floored at the performance that even if he had lost this fight, right? Even if the judges had given it to Thurman, I'm gonna say this, even if Thurman had pulled off a late knockout, I still would be sitting here telling you I am blown away at the performance that a 40-year-old welterweight fighting literally probably 2 weight classes above what his absolute best weight class ever was anyway. It was amazing. It was just really amazing to me.
So, to your first point
Mhm.
about Compubox, and you and I have done this before because I asked you to study the Dennis Hogan Mungia Compubox numbers
Absolutely.
because I straddle the line
Mhm.
between between manager working in a corner, between writing for Forbes,
Mhm.
between doing this with you, and so for me, what I try to emphasize to people is that yeah, you can't look at the CompuBox numbers and try to say, well, Thurman landed more power shots or had a higher percentage because as we've talked about, boxing matches are nothing more at the championship level than 12 3-minute fights independently scored.
Mhm.
So there could just be a disparity in a few rounds that widens that overall gap, but it doesn't, but you can't score it that way. So uh, this was one of those fights where Thurman seemed to squeak out some rounds, but he was landing some nice little sneaky right hands. He was landing the jab. He was really trying to go to the body. But he got hurt a couple of times, more than
Yeah,
a couple of times. And like
absolutely.
you said, it stopped him in his tracks, which
Yeah.
then killed his momentum.
Mhm.
So, but to your other point, yes, I do believe, and I've always said this, like to me, guys like Manny Pacquiao, Roy Jones Jr., these are guys of our era that are two of the best of all time, right?
Yes.
Just they defy, I don't know. I just any guys are going to lose fights.
Mhm.
When you fight 71 fights, and remember, he he won world titles in 8 different weight classes, but he's
Yeah.
fought like in 10 weight classes,
Yeah.
okay, starting at the age of 16. So,
Mhm.
I mean, this is this is remarkable, right? And at
Mhm.
40, you look at it now and you're like, well, what does he do? Right?
Yeah.
He fights the winner of Spence Porter, or does Floyd unretire
Mhm.
because Manny's coming off back-to-back wins against really 3 wins, Matisse, Broner, Thurman.
Yeah.
I mean, is that enough to sell because the way he's been winning,
Mhm.
is it enough to say, "Hey, let's do this again," and could people buy into it?
Well,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, I do. I think that it gets very interesting, right? I think that the prospects of that gets very because one thing about Floyd and I we do have a couple of people um chiming in from the chat, so I'm going to address what they were talking about. But one thing about Floyd is that Floyd understands the moment and he understands timing. And a lot of times people would get on him. They say, oh, you're running from this person or you're running from that person. You don't want to fight this guy. You don't want to fight that guy. But Floyd understands the moment and he understands when his value and when the value of a potential event is at its height. And with Manny Pacquiao being 40 years old, having just defeated Adrian Broner, having now just defeated Keith Thurman, coming off a victory over Lucas Matisse, you have to ask yourself: is there ever a moment where a
right.
fight between a rematch with Mayweather and Pacquiao could ever be more lucrative than it is right now?
But
And
Brian
I think the answer to that is no.
but Brian, before that, let's go and look at it. He lost a controversial decision to Jeff Horn.
To Jeff Horn, yeah,
Then before that, he had beaten Jesse Vargas.
right,
Before that, he had beaten Tim Bradley in the third fight.
right,
I mean,
yeah.
no one's really
Yeah, you can make the argument that he hasn't really legitimately lost a fight since
right,
Floyd Mayweather.
right.
You
Since
could
2000,
literally
what, 2015?
Yeah, you can make that argument. Now, in the chat, we have Alex S is saying that Pacquiao's shots were just more debilitating. I completely agree. He also says that Pacquiao should have gone to the body a whole lot more. I also think you can say that it's possible, but for a shorter guy who has to lunge in to get into closed space, sometimes those body shots are not there that same way, especially if you look at the orthodox southpaw setup. That back end left hook that he threw to Thurman's body generally isn't there as close. Manny did a great job taking advantage of it in that particular situation. But you, Alex makes a really good point about the fight, and I do want to go back to the Mayweather talk, but Alex makes a really good point because he says that Pacquiao shots were just more debilitating. I think a lot of people had bought into a narrative, maybe, that Pacquiao perhaps didn't have a great chin. And I think that that came from the visual of seeing him knocked out against Juan Manuel Marquez. But I think we saw tonight and were reminded, if you ever forgot, that this guy can take a shot. I mean, Thurman hit him with some solid straight right hands, some good scraping left hooks. And we saw the vintage signature Pacquiao smashing gloves together. But when we saw Pacquiao land with hard shots, the body language really told a story. You get, first of
Yeah.
all, you get floored. Obviously, we know what that means. Then you get hit in the body with a left hook. Not only do you run away to retreat to get yourself together, you literally remove your mouthpiece to clear some more airways because you're gasping for that at that point. In the 12th round, when you needed the 12th round, in my opinion, on my card to win the fight, you get caught with a looping shot that pauses you for a second. We never saw Pacquiao eat a shot and have him react as if, whoa, I'm in serious trouble.
The way Pacquiao reacts when he gets in trouble is to come on the offensive.
Exactly.
He gives it right back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were watching the fight here. I was telling the people here, I was saying, the thing about Pacquiao is that there is no just hurting him. You have to put him down
Right.
because when you hit him with a good shot, his automatic natural instinct is to come forward, go, 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 get fired up. A lot of guys that you see, and this is across all combat sports, a lot of combat sports athletes that you see, when they get hit with a good shot, their first reaction is to step back, regain yourself, regain that aggression, and then to come forward. Pacquiao takes no breaks with that. It's bam. Okay, and now I want to get that setback, as Joe Goosen said, which I thought was um, a really good comment and really good analysis and a really good way to put what we saw from Pacquiao. But another thing did I mention this? The fight was just freaking great, wasn't it? I mean, didn't you think the fight was a good
I
fight?
thought it was a great fight. No, it was a great fight, and that's what I was saying is that it was a lot closer than people realize.
Mm-hmm.
And I that's what I'm saying is that the way Moretti and Cheatham had it,
Mm-hmm.
people have to understand. And like I said in the beginning, shoulda, coulda, woulda, what if, and what they have to understand is that if Thurman didn't go down in the first round,
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at a draw. That 10-8 round to Pacquiao becomes a 10-9 round to Thurman.
Yeah, because it was a 3-point swing.
So
Absolutely.
you're looking at 114, 114
Mm-hmm.
in my scorecard. The way I had it, 114, 113 to Pacquiao, no knockdown in the first round, and Thurman wins that fight. But it didn't happen. The point I'm making, and believe me, there's Manny Pacquiao won this fight, no
Mm-hmm.
question about it. Okay, and even Keith Thurman, class act
Absolutely.
afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Just really, even he felt it was a great fight, which it was.
Yeah.
And I think he came in prepared. He came to fight. But let's also not forget Manny Pacquiao was the odds-on favorite. My
Mm-hmm.
bookie had him minus 160
Yeah.
at the time of the bell for round one to Keith Thurman's plus 130. So look, Manny was the favorite going in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even though the betting odds opened in Thurman's favor, it quickly moved to Manny, and it just stayed that way. Even though toward the end, 50% of the money was coming in on Pacquiao, and basically 50% of the money coming in on Thurman. So the point I'm making is, yeah, it was a great fight. The judges got it right. Um, I think boxing wins, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know where Thurman. I guess. Well, I don't know where Pacquiao goes from here.
Mm.
Thurman's just going to get reshuffled back into the PBC runway.
Mm-hmm.
He might fight Ugas. Well, Ugas just won an eliminator.
Yeah.
He might fight. Maybe I don't know. I really don't know. There's a number of people that PBC could put him in with to bring him back, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, does Manny fight the winner of Spence Porter,
Well,
or does
yeah.
Floyd happen?
Well, three things I want to say based off of what you just said. First thing, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Right before the fight was about to start, um, I think it was Kenny Albert. I'm not sure who said it, but somebody said that there was a six-figure bet that had just come in on Thurman right before the fight started. Right. So, do you think that all of that money, because it was such a sizable bet, had anything to did it sway the odds at all right there, right at the beginning of the fight, or
No,
was
it's too late.
it's too
It's
late?
too late.
Too late.
All it did was allow somebody who
Hmm.
felt strongly about Thurman to take advantage of the value.
Okay, but they
So
didn't
they,
clearly didn't win,
they
right?
would have won. They would have won 100. Do the math. I mean, every hundred. I mean, we don't know what the bet was, but for every $100, you would have won 130.
40. Okay, I thought it was 130. It was 140. It was 130 or 140.
I think it was plus 130 at the
Okay,
opening. No. But
got
what
it.
I'm saying is, for every 100, you'd win,
Hmm.
130. So you could do
Right.
the math. I mean, we don't know how much that bet was, but it's too late at that point. It's not they. Once that first bell rings, that's it. I mean, they close. That's it. I mean, I think we all knew the over was a pretty strong play, the 11 and a half rounds. But go back to my question: what's next for Pacquiao?
Right. Now, that was one thing that I did want to say too is in terms of Pacquiao, I think that what's next for Pacquiao is obviously he could face the winner of Spence Porter. It would seem that things would line up properly for that. Spence Porter fights on September 28th in Los Angeles at the Staples Center. So that would essentially give, Pacquiao said he didn't want to fight again until 2020. So it would kind of stretch things out a bit that allow them to build up nicely to an early year, clash between the winner of those two fights. Now, the other thing, obviously, and we know this is probably what Pacquiao would prefer is to get Floyd Mayweather.
Right.
Like we said, this lure Floyd back in. Now, I would not be shocked if Floyd says, "If you want me, we got to fight in December. If not, it ain't gonna happen." Simply because he still knows he's the A side, and also Pacquiao doesn't really want to fight then, and that would inconvenience him. And
Right.
Floyd is going to look for every advantage that he can get. Now, you did ask about Thurman, and I think I differ a little bit with you about what I think is next for Thurman. Um, and I just wrote this up in my recap on Forbes. And I said this, and I'm expecting to get some hate from across the world about this. But I think that Thurman should retire. I really do. With all due respect to Manny, who was outstanding tonight, but Thurman is not the same guy that he was before the 2-year layoff from 2017 to 2019. The injury, the I believe that he has become extremely civilized because just life changes, man. You get married and things happen. You change. He's not as hungry as he was early on. Now, I'm not saying that, oh, a younger, hungrier Thurman beats Pacquiao. Maybe he does. I mean, the guy we saw tonight was close to beating Pacquiao.
I mean, should
But
Jesse Vargas retire? Should Adrian Broner retire? I'm
um
just
here
asking
here's
because
here's
this
the
was a close fight.
here's the difference though. Here's the difference. Do they still want to fight? Do they still have the desire and the hunger to fight? And have they ever been to the heights that Thurman has been to?
I think
Neither of
I
those
think Keith
guys.
I think Keith took on a great challenge
Yeah,
that it could have been Sean Porter in there tonight.
it could have been Sean Porter in there tonight, but and perhaps he loses to Sean Porter with this performance too. There were things about Thurman's performance tonight that I felt were
No, what I
subpar.
meant is it could have been Sean Porter in there for Manny, and
Right?
Sean could have been leaving with the L, is what I'm saying.
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but there was
Right,
things
right.
about.
What I'm saying is that it's Manny Pacquiao.
I
And
understand that.
I understand what you're saying, but no one knows. Remember, Keith was out.
See, you got to understand. Part of what I'm saying is not what I'm saying is not meant to be an insult to Keith,
I
and it's
understand what
not,
you're saying.
and it's not
You're
about
wondering if he still has that fire
he's
to
if he,
wanna do this at this level, like he's evolved.
and also he has more options than some of the guys that you've mentioned. Keith has a serious future as a commentator. He has a serious future as a commentator. He wants to do that. He has
Yeah,
expressed that
I
on
don't
several occasions.
listen, what I think, Brian, is that he came back after a long layoff and he fought a
Mhm.
very game Josesito Lopez,
Yep.
like a very game fighter for being off for 2 years, okay? He then came right back and fought one of the greatest fighters of all time who's still performing at a high level.
Yeah.
So some might say, he needed another fight in between, but he came in and fought Pacquiao, no problem, came to fight, and it was a very close fight. Like I said, no knockdown in the first round. It's
Mhm.
a draw.
Okay, so let me ask this. So at his age, he's 30. So his arrow's not pointing up. So he's not over the hill, but his arrow isn't pointing up. Do we and considering where he's been, Thurman was considered arguably the best welterweight in the world at one point. 2 years ago, people were that was the conversation. It was him or Crawford. That was the conversation.
And it
So
was and it
now
was a legit conversation.
at 100%, it was legit. So now at this point, you're not gonna get. I'm getting some reverb. I can hear myself. You're not gonna get. You're not gonna get a rematch with Manny Pacquiao because it makes no sense for Manny to fight you
You
again.
got to call for it, but I don't think anyone wants to
It's
see it.
no, it's not Manny. It would make no sense for Manny to do that. Why would I give you? I already beat you, and you're 10 years younger than me,
Yeah, I just think it's something that
and
guys,
there's bigger fights.
you gotta say it because at the end of the fight,
No, I
you
understand you have to say it. What I'm talking
look,
about is the
yeah,
reality of where he is right now.
right.
Where he is right now, he's already been so high with his career. At this point now, realistically, do we think Keith Thurman can beat Errol Spence? Do we think that?
So let's also look at the famous styles make fights.
Absolutely. And
Manny,
what happened tonight doesn't have anything to do with that.
well, I think Manny's style is just very complicated. Remember,
No, I'm saying what happened tonight doesn't have anything to do with what Thurman would do with Spence. It's two different
two
guys.
two different styles, two different fights.
Right.
You know, not saying that we couldn't have the same result, but I'm saying it's a different type of fight.
Yeah, it is a different type of fight, and it's one that I think even is even worse for Keith Thurman because what I've noticed with Thurman, especially in the last two fights, is gun shy, um, struggling to get off, um, conditioning peaks and valleys, and just
Right.
a lack of aggression. There were times where he had Pacquiao on the ropes and really could have really engaged and thrown more punches and maybe claimed rounds
Right.
more and maybe
But
took even
remember,
more out of Pacquiao, but he
but
did not do that.
we
He
don't
really stood
know.
back. He really just stood back and he did not work and he allowed Pacquiao to really to regain momentum and to pick back up more, more productivity. And I don't know if that's the same. I don't know if that's something Thurman would have done in 2016, 2015.
Right, but that's my point. We don't know what he was feeling physically because, you have to fight your way back into shape.
Right.
especially at this level.
Hmm.
So he could have been actually fighting smarter by not putting his foot on the pedal, because maybe feeling that if he did and he didn't close the show, he could be putting himself in greater danger. So there was a measured approach to it. If you noticed, when he did have Manny in the ropes, is when he chose to go to the body.
Exactly.
And in those times where you felt like there was a momentum shift, I think that he didn't want, for a lack of a better uh, term, didn't want to shoot his load,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
he just wanted to maybe he's thinking, I'm winning this round. Let me be measured. But then he'd open the door for Manny to come back and maybe steal the round, or,
Exactly.
or hurt him, which, I wouldn't be surprised if Thurman's nose was busted. Maybe he has a rib injury. Um, but he was beaten up. I mean,
I mean,
even though it was close, he was
if
beaten up.
he was, and this, I mean, honestly, this is kind of more supporting my point. I know, I can imagine
But
that
I don't think
Thurman.
he should retire.
I
I'm sorry.
understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I can imagine that there's better conditioning that Thurman can get into. I can imagine that. But I cannot imagine him getting back to where he was from a physical and a mental standpoint. I cannot. I've it- I don't see the motivation there for him. I don't see the motivation there for him.
Well, we're gonna find out.
I don't think he's washed up physically. I think that he's at a point where he doesn't need to box anymore.
Right.
And when you don't need to box
Right.
anymore and you don't love it like you used to love it, then that's when you need to think about if this is what you should keep
Yeah,
doing.
but we don't know if that's the case.
It looks like it's the case.
Listen, he has one loss in 30 fights. It's
Yeah,
to Manny Pacquiao.
it looks like it was the case though.
I don't know. I think he was looking for answers, which, like I told you, I know a lot of people that have sparred with Manny. I know people that have fought Manny.
Mhm.
And until you spar with him, until you fight him in a fight, you
You
can't
don't
really
really know.
you can't really explain the things that he does that makes it really difficult to fight him. And so, believe it or not, having this fight and this close result, the loss, nothing to be ashamed of. Um, it actually might help him in his next fight, because he's not going to face anyone like Manny Pacquiao.
Right, and, and I don't mean to say that Thurman can't win another fight, so he should retire. He's gonna
I know
lose
what
all the
you're saying.
rest of his fights.
Right.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, with the current landscape of the welterweight division and the people who are in place where they're in place, what is the realistic chances that Thurman can get back to where he was from a status, not even necessarily from a physical and a mental standpoint, which that's a whole nother question in itself. But what's the chances Thurman in current form, and even considering what he may be able to upgrade back to after he gets his conditioning better and better in shape, what are the chances that he can again be considered arguably the best welterweight in the world?
Just come back and win some fights. Come back and win some fights, step up again, beat a big name, and he's right back in the mix.
What
It's
what big name? Which guy is this that he's
Errol
going to beat?
Spence, Sean Porter.
He's not going to beat Errol Spence.
Well, I mean, like I said, I believe that styles make fights, and nothing against Errol Spence, okay? But and I really mean this, okay? And nothing against Errol Spence. Who's Errol Spence's big name?
You're right. No,
Dominant.
I totally
I
agree.
mean,
I
what?
agree with
Mikey Garcia, 2 weight classes.
that. No, I agree with that.
I mean, a washed up Kell Brook who couldn't even make weight anymore.
I agree with that.
Hold
And
on, hold on. I mean, Ocampo, who was a mandatory that went down in a body shot in the first round. And wait, I'm missing people. Like, who am I missing? But
no,
no,
I
tell me,
agree. No, I
who's the
agree.
big name?
Everything that you said, I said in a video that posted on our channel 2 days ago. Everything
Right,
that you just said, right?
right.
So
So what
I
I'm saying is,
agree.
so I'm saying that it's like, to a lesser extent, did you watch Teofimo Lopez and Nakatani?
Yes.
Nothing against Teofimo Lopez. I think people are like being a little bit too critical. He fought a guy that was like 6 feet tall,
Hmm.
that was awkward for him to adjust to and adapt to.
And tough.
He's and tough. He's still an up and coming. He's a contender,
Hmm.
right? But he got past him. There was no question about that. He did win. But what
Hmm.
I'm saying is, styles make fights.
Absolutely.
You never really know until you encounter it. And what I'm asking is, can Errol Spence be the best welterweight in the world? Maybe, but not until he ever fights Terrence Crawford.
Okay.
Not until he fights somebody that we can then use as that, you know,
Right. Well.
anybody that anyone that fights Manny now,
Hmm.
if they beat him, it's going to be, well, yeah, guy's 72nd fight. He's eighth weight class, two above probably where he should be, and he's going to be 41 in December. Okay,
Right.
so that's always going to be like, it's a losing proposition for any of these guys.
Yeah.
And if
Well.
you, and if you and if you lose to him, do you become overrated? Were you overrated?
Well, all right. So let me address the chat here. So Graham Martinez is saying, respect to Thurman. He fought the good fight. I thought he won on points. Well, you and the one other judge thought
Yeah,
that he won on
Glenn
points.
Feldman. Glenn Feldman saw it the same way.
Right. So it's not, totally crazy. World Beater Fighting says, what's up, Peter? So I don't know. Maybe you know him.
Yes.
uh, and Jose Regala says that he thinks that Thurman can upset Terrence Crawford. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, put it like this. I'm not putting Thurman down like he is all of a sudden a B class fighter. That's
No,
not
but I
what
think
I'm
you're
saying.
kind of writing him off a little bit.
I'm not I'm writing him off more so from the standpoint of, it does not appear to me, from what I'm seeing from him, in regards to his what looks like his level of commitment to, or the hunger. It just doesn't look like that level of hunger is still there. It just doesn't. And this is something that I questioned before this. I saw it happen to Peter Quillen. I've seen it happen to other fighters. There's a change that goes through in their life, and they go from being the hunter to being the hunted to being satisfied. And lip service says one thing, but your actions, your body language, all of those different things say something different. And what I see from Thurman is a guy who's satisfied. He just made a lot of money tonight. More money than he's ever made in any fight. Probably more money than he's ever made in any two fights. He doesn't have to box anymore. And he knows it because he's not a dummy. That's the other thing that actually works in the favor of what I'm saying. Thurman's an intelligent guy. And to be honest, the smart thing for most people is to not fight. That's the smarter thing. It takes a certain type of guy to get in the ring anyway.
I think it's just sort of like, I think the reaction that you're having now is the reaction I had after he fought Lopez and didn't look so good,
Yeah, I didn't feel
right?
like that then.
But I mean, I don't know. I think he fought a good fight. I thought he lost a very close fight. Like I said, shoulda, coulda, woulda. If he would have not been knocked down in that first round, he wins it 10-9. We have a draw.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
there's no
that's
question.
so, and I think it's hard for us. He's a unique guy. He's because he doesn't act like a stereotypical fighter, right? And because he's Keith. He's his own personality. It could come off as apathy or lack of interest. He had an injury. He took time off, got married, living his life, came
Mhm.
back, took a tough guy in Lopez as a first fight back after 2 years of being off, right? He then comes back and fights arguably one of the best fighters of all time, who's, like I said, take away the controversial loss to Horn. Pacquiao beat Bradley for the third fight. He beat Jesse Vargas. Then he had the Horn. Then Matisse. Then Broner. Now Thurman. I'm just saying, you know, man, you could, like you said, you can say that Manny hasn't lost since Floyd Mayweather. So Manny's just Manny Pacquiao. There's a reason he's the only eight division world champion in the history of boxing. And like I said, having fought in like 10 of them, he won world titles in 8 of them, but he's fought like in 10 of them. He's an amazing athlete and fighter. And I think he just, did enough to beat Keith Thurman tonight. But I don't know. I don't see Thurman as uh, having to retire. I think Thurman might have needed one fight in between, and I give him credit for stepping in and taking this big fight.
Oh, I give him credit, but I also understand. I mean, when this type of payday calls,
Yeah,
hey, there's no such thing as
and
I'm
it's
not
very
100%
close.
ready. Yeah,
Very
I mean,
close.
it was, and I'm not saying or I'm not implying that he got blown out or
I mean,
anything.
he showed a lot of heart. Listen, he
Yeah,
got
he
hurt.
fought a good
He got
fight.
hurt a couple of times. He showed
Yeah,
a lot of heart.
yeah.
Listen, he knew, Brian, he knew
Hmm.
that when he got hurt to the body in the 10th round, he knew that if he took a knee,
Yeah,
it's over.
but he
Points.
also knew.
He knew he couldn't.
He also should have known that when he took that shot to the body and he reacted the way he reacted in the 10th round, that that round was popped. And as close as that fight was,
Yeah,
he had to have it in the 11th and the 12th.
yeah,
And
but
he
but
did
I still think
fight
he was
like a
trying to
guy who
recover.
had he did not fight like a guy who had to have it in the 11th and the
I
12th
think
round
he was still trying to recover.
with a minute and 17 seconds left in the 12th round and an opportunity to engage. Now we're talking about a good amount of time later, and there's no 100%, right? Because they all both of them got hit. Manny's face and eyes were swole up. It wasn't like Keith Thurman was spitting at him for 12 rounds. He
Mhm.
was landing shots. But at the end of the fight, when you had to fight like you needed it in a close fight, Pacquiao took the fight from him. He took it from him. And yes, we can say that the difference was the knockdown, and if the math and numbers do match up, but late in the fight, it also what the other difference is that with the money on the line and the fight close, Pacquiao was the one who had the moments late. Thurman didn't have any moments. And if you look at the punch output, look at the punch output late, like in the last round. Look at the amount of punches thrown. If you're the man that's 10 years younger, and in the 11th and 12th round, you throw a combination of 28 punches. I'm sorry, no, he threw 80 punches across the last 2 rounds.
Right, but this has nothing to do with your point that you think he should retire.
No, it absolutely does,
I
because
think he
I'm
was hurt in
talking
the
about
10.
the hunger. I'm talking about the desire.
Listen,
This
I
is
think
what that's 100% related.
I think he might have fought through a lot more pain and injury than we know right now.
It
You
doesn't
know,
matter why. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't
I
matter
mean,
how you got to the store if you at the store. He's at the retirement store. It doesn't matter if somebody drove him there or if he got dropped
I
off.
listen,
It
I
doesn't matter.
disagree. Listen, I disagree with you, but we're allowed to disagree. Do we have
Yeah,
anyone else commenting? Anyone else have any questions for us?
yeah, well, we have let's see. Conray Everett says, stop it. Everybody knows that Spence is the best welterweight in the world.
Okay.
Rafredo de Guzman says that Thurman got
Look, I'll
scared.
stop it. I made my argument. I'll stop it.
Right, stop it. You heard what Conray said. Stop it.
I'm stopping
Wilfredo,
it for him. Seriously, I like him. I'm stopping it.
Rafredo de Guzman said.
Although, I'd like to see Crawford fight him, but okay, well, I'll stop.
Rafredo de Guzman says that Thurman got scared to be knocked out just in the first round. But when Manny hit him in the body in the 10th round, I guess that he's saying that like we were saying, that was kind of like a key to fight.
I think he
Hamid,
went into that's a good point. I think he's right. And I think the point is he's absolutely right. Keith went into survival
yes,
mode
absolutely.
versus trying to win the fight mode.
Absolutely. And I 100% agree with that. And
Man, we got some smart people that watch us.
we do. We do. There is the Fight Guys has an intelligent subscribership.
I like
And
that.
we're looking at it right now. Hamid Sadu says that Thurman can't touch Crawford. Are you guys trying to get Crawford killed?
Wait, Crawford?
Well, I'm not trying to. Well, he's. I'm sorry. Are we trying to get Thurman killed? That's what I'm. That's what
I
he
don't
said.
think we were suggesting he fight Crawford. I'm suggesting that it would be wonderful in the fantasy land of boxing to see Spence and Crawford fight. That's I think what we were getting at.
Absolutely. Well, see, here's the thing. I will say this. I'm not trying to get Thurman killed. I'm trying to get Thurman into an easier lifestyle, which is
I don't
sitting,
know.
which
I
is
think
sitting
some people.
next
I
to
think some.
Kenny
Listen.
Albert.
I think some people are overreacting.
No.
He could have fought a fight like Broner,
Hmm.
afraid to engage. I won't say afraid, reluctant to engage, playing it safe, and then just claiming that you won the fight.
Yes. You know
Okay.
what? And
Thurman was in a fight. He
yes,
gave he
yes.
made it a fight, and it was a close fight.
Yes. I'm going to tell you, I 100% agree with what you just said there. And I agree. And there's a lot of respect that I have for Thurman for the way that he handled the end of this fight because he could have gone the Broner route. He could have got up there and he could have talked like, oh, I won the fight. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Well, no, he
As
could
long,
have said, Brian, he could have said, "Look, one judge had it for me."
yeah, right. And it would have been, and it would have matched, right? It would have totally matched. And he would have had somewhat of an argument. Broner played that card and had no argument.
Right.
Had
I
no
mean, look,
argument.
all I'm saying is that I think to an extent people don't realize. I mean, Thurman fought a good fight
Mhm.
against one of the greatest fighters of all time.
Yes,
40 years old, 24 years old, doesn't matter. Manny Pacquiao is a very unique and special fighter.
he is. And like I said, when I said that, I did not say that at all to be disrespectful to Manny Pacquiao and his performance because I know that Thurman just lost to an all-time great. He did.
Right.
But it is not just in that he lost. The issue and what I'm seeing is it doesn't appear that Thurman has that dog in him that he once had.
Man, I just think that it's hard to judge because he put a hell of a fight. He put up a hell of a fight against one of the greatest ever. So it's like where this wasn't judging that desire against a much lesser. I mean, this was Manny Pacquiao. This was not. You understand what I'm saying? Like you're questioning his will to really want to fight anymore, based on a fight against Manny
No, it's
Pacquiao.
but see, that's the thing. It's not based on the fight with Manny Pacquiao. It's based on a lot of things. It's based on a little bit of what we saw with Josecito Lopez. It's based on the fact that he has had injuries. It's based on the fact that he has an injury that may never be 100% as long as he continues to fight because he has that shoulder problem. It's also based on the fact that he's moved to a different part of his life where that is now the center focus of his life and it's not boxing anymore. It's also based on the fact that he already knows his second career and a well-paying second career in the sport is already there.
You
So,
know how much of a hard time he gave me, right? I know, we didn't
yeah,
share that video publicly based on what you wrote,
that's
okay?
right. And
And
I,
now
you know
when I
what?
when I
I'll
show
take
this
that
to
smoke.
him,
I'll
oh
take
my
that
god, when I
smoke.
show this to him,
I'll take the smoke. I'll take the
oh my
smoke.
god, yeah,
I'll take
you'll take it from over there.
no, I'm 6'5",
Okay,
265. I ain't scared of his 147-pound smoke.
I drove to the
I ain't
gym in
scared of his
Tampa,
smoke.
and believe me, woo, minute I walked in there, thank God I had it on video.
Yeah,
But
you
he
know,
took exception to what you wrote.
I
So
hey,
now you're telling him to retire.
I gotta say what's on my mind, and I gotta do it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
look,
that
I understand your point. I think that the only way to seriously, the only way to truly know is in his comeback fight.
yeah, and
Who he comes back against,
I would
how
agree.
he fights, then you're gonna know.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. I think that it does. I said I think he should retire. Do I think he will? No, no, I don't think he will. I think he has at least one other fight, and depending on who he's put in the ring with, we might see it more confirmed of what I've said, or we may see it delayed. We may see it delayed, but I think that Thurman has seen his best days as a boxer. I don't. I think his prime is done. I think his prime is done. That's just that's my opinion.
All right, well, we're gonna see. I mean, now getting back to Manny, right? Well, anybody else chiming in? Any other
Oh,
questions
we
here?
got tons. We got tons. We got tons. We got Jose Regales says well, he was talking to somebody else saying that he didn't think that he doesn't agree that Thurman, I guess, is going to get destroyed by Crawford. And somebody's giving us a hard time saying what happened to Thurman knocking out Pacquiao prediction.
Okay, first of all, we never hold on. First of all, neither of us said that Keith Thurman was going to knock out Manny Pacquiao.
I did. I'm sorry, I did.
Oh,
I did.
okay.
I did say
Well, I didn't. I picked Keith to win a decision.
yeah.
I also heavily pushed the draw
Hmm.
at plus 1600. And I know I'm going to say it again, shoulda, coulda, woulda, what if. If Keith didn't go down with that flash knockdown in the first round, it would
Hmm.
have been a draw.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, guys, if you're watching this, okay, yeah, we're not going to get it right all the time.
No, no,
Um,
we're not gonna get it right all the time. But you know what? We absolutely deserve the smoke when we get it wrong. When we get
yeah,
it wrong,
but
because you
it's
know what?
okay.
When I get it exactly right, I'm gonna say, "What did I tell you?"
Yeah, well, you know, I hear you, but I mean, look, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have the dialogue. It doesn't mean that we're not going to give an opinion. We're not going to walk this middle line. We have to give our predictions. We have to give opinions, right? And Manny Pacquiao came out and proved us wrong as to why he's still really at the top of his game. And maybe Keith, because of the time off and his last performance, maybe this was the right guy,
Yeah.
right? But then, like I keep saying, if you go back, well, Broner, then Matisse,
Hmm.
controversial loss to Horn, Jesse Vargas, Timothy Bradley, right? It's like,
Yeah.
Mayweather. I mean, so Manny's still operating at that high level.
Okay.
Anybody else giving us a hard time?
Well, of course, but one thing I do want to shout out is Frankie the Cranky Tanky just subscribed to the channel. I appreciate that. Anybody else who's
Me too.
watching right now and they're enjoying this conversation and the banter, please make sure you subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the like button as well. And when you subscribe, make sure you click the notifications bell as well. If you're just now coming and being acquainted with the Fight Guys, we are all boxing all the time. We have actually on our channel, if you didn't see it, we had interviews with Manny Pacquiao. We had interviews with Keith Thurman, his strength and conditioning coach, before this fight, as well as Freddie Roach, Mauricio Suleiman, several people. So it's a combination of interviews, boxing opinions, listicles, all of that stuff, but it's all boxing all the time. So we definitely appreciate everybody who is coming through and watching.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to tell you guys this. Both Peter and I have pulled double, triple, quadruple duty tonight on several things. Peter wrote up the live blog for this fight. I wrote up the results piece, as well as pulling dual monitor duty, because I also had the UFC event on as well. So both of us are close to zombie status. So we're going to go ahead and check out right now. But again, I sincerely appreciate everybody that came
Same
through.
here.
Moving forward, what we'll do is you'll know ahead of time when we're going to jump on after fights. So it won't be impromptu as it was today. But again, we appreciate everybody watching. Make sure that you join in and subscribe and click that notifications bell. God bless and peace.